Welcome back, listeners, to a brand new episode of the New Standard. As always, want to give props out to my co-host Neil Coulon, and I think we're going to have Neil back for some draft stuff as we talk about the draft, who the Steelers draft, who they should draft, all this different stuff. The one thing we won't do on this show, more than likely, we probably won't do a mock draft. I'm not really a fan of mock drafts just because there's very little insight uh, typically that you have about what's going on inside someone's building. So we're probably not going to do any mocks for you, but we'll probably really just kind of give our thoughts on who we think they're going to select, particularly in the first round. But before we get into all that, thank you everybody for participating in the show. And if you want to support the program, please hit us with a like and a subscribe. It is much appreciated. Want to apologize for you for the inconsistency of how we've come out in the past with the show, but we're going to try to be a little more regular. Once the draft happens and everything occurs with the draft, we're going to try to be more regular. Again, please like and subscribe to the program. Go to YouTube, do a search for the New Standard and Lance Williams or Neil Coulon. However you get your podcast, you can do a search for the same Steelers, Lance Williams, the New Standard, and or Neil Coulon. Now, I want to jump into a couple of topics on this show. And one is about Russell Wilson in the media. The second is why I think it's problematic trying to guess what the Steelers are going to do in the first round. And the last one I'm going to talk about is this thing about high ceiling, low ceiling, high floor, low floor player, and just what is what are we looking for? Are you looking for a guy that has a high ceiling and a low floor? You're looking for a high floor? Like what? When you're talking about these prospects in the draft, what would you rather have? What would you rather target? But if you can see the screen, you can see this little red image in the background and Russell Wilson's face. Now, Russell Wilson recently did a photo shoot for a very popular African American magazine by the name of Essence. Essence has been out from the 60s, widely read by African Americans in this country. Some of the biggest stars have been on the cover of Essence, have done photo shoots, so on and so forth on Essence magazine. And new starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Russell Wilson, is featured prominently in this month's issue of Essence in a photo shoot. Now, the picture behind me is Russell Wilson. I think he's in a fur coat in one of the shots. One of the shots, he's channeling his inner Drew Down, his inner 90s R&B pop singer stuff where he has a chain and he's flexing his muscles. Pretty much, it's a pretty boy photo shoot. He's modeling. Uh, Essence has given him the opportunity to model and put his likeness out there and brand build. This is great, and this would be fantastic in any other city. But I'm gonna just use my Nipsey Russell ism real quick. City. I'm gonna construct a rhyme. In any other city, that would be okay. But in Pittsburgh, city and pretty, Yinzers like their quarterbacks gritty, not pretty. And I'm gonna just tell you this. And somebody should have told Russell Wilson this before he did the photo shoot. Now, interestingly enough, I don't know when he did the photo shoot. I don't know the date that he did the photo shoot. And not that that matters at all, but I'm going to tell you why it matters and why it matters to Yinzers and Steeler fans in the city and Steeler Nation as a whole. Again, Yinzers like their quarterbacks gritty, not pretty. And someone should have told Russell Wilson, if the Steelers start out 1-3, 1-4, they are going to be bringing this Essence magazine to Heinz Field, and he is going to catch hell for it. you just know it. The first thing Steeler Nation is going to say, well, hell, Russ, you shouldn't have been taking them damn photos. You should have been in your playbook, not in your makeup book or your pocketbook or whatever book. You shouldn't have been taking those damn pictures. We don't need no pretty guy in Pittsburgh. We need somebody like Big Ben who wins games. I'm just going to say this. If it goes left early, it's going to be bad for Russ. The only thing that might save Russ in this, and I really think Russ has a strike one. I think somebody should advise Russ that Steeler fans don't want a pretty dude. They don't want a pretty dude as their quarterback, right? They want somebody gritty that represents the city. They want to know that their quarterback is literally preparing 24 hours a day, all day, in the hills of the Himalayas, going through play action and the playbook, trying to be the best that they can be. Again, if the Steelers start off slow and Yinzers and Steeler Nation find out about this photo shoot, it is going to be all bad. You know it. If you're listening to this show, you absolutely know it. City of Pittsburgh is going to be on its head if they start out bad and Russell Wilson was doing photo shoots. I mean, you just know it. Just think about it. Man, he out there doing photo shoots. Man, the Steelers can't even win. Now, he could have did this photo shoot years ago while he was a Denver Bronco. But guess what? If he did this photo shoot when he was a Denver Bronco, this is what Steeler fans will say. See, that's why they got rid of his ass in Denver. He was doing photo shoots. Don't bring that shit to Pittsburgh. That's what's going to happen. I mean, you guys know that if you're listening to this show. So strike one for Russ. Whoever's in charge of Russ's PR, hey, man, they need to tell Russ simply, Pittsburgh Steelers fans want their quarterback gritty, not pretty. We don't care if they got on fur coats, they fashion models, none of that. None of that matters to Steeler fans. Only thing that matters to Steeler fans is if he is winning games. The Steeler fan don't care about nothing else. So, Russ, you already got strike one. It will be held against you in the court of public Steeler opinion if the Steelers start out slow because you took a photo shoot and you were trying to be pretty and not tough. It's a blue-collar town, Russ. We don't get down like that. That's not going to get appreciated. This ain't LA. This ain't New York. This is Steeler Nation. We don't care if you've got a gorgeous wife and you dress up in fancy clothes or whatever. It's not going to work, Russ. It's not going to work. And Russ, I'm not going to charge for this advice, but just take it from a 53-year-old guy from the north side of Pittsburgh. I'm just telling you, Russ, it's not going to go well. Now, if the Steelers start out 5-0 and you're on a magazine cover, it's going to be all love. It's going to be all love. Steeler fans won't care. They'll be like, oh, that's my quarterback. Ain't he looking good on the cover? My quarterback is cooler than yours. It's all got to do with winning, Russ. This is a bad look if the Steelers are losing. But let me switch reels and jump into a topic that I put out there on X and trying to predict what the Steelers would do with the draft based on past behavior. Again, you're checking out the new standard. Title of the program is Nah, Russ. This ain't it, Playboy. This is not it. Now, I have waxed poetically on X and different platforms that, you know, in the past, the past is a good predictor of the future. What the Steelers want to do with the draft and the direction that they're going. The only thing I could tell you that I think is going to happen in the draft, there is a metric out there called RAS, Relative Athletic Score. Relative Athletic Score, they take a bunch of metrics and measurables from players: height, weight, speed, 20-yard shuttle, 40-yard dash, bench press, and all of these different things, and put them together in an algorithm and come up with an athletic score that ranks from 0 to 10, 10 being fantastic. There's been some 10s, I believe. 9.999 would be your absolutely athletic, and it's super athletic for your position. It's also done by position. Now, the one thing I will say, which has been predictable by the Steelers, is they have drafted, particularly in the first round, high RAS guys. And actually, if you look at their drafts over the last few years, all of their guys tend to be high RAS guys. They tend to be very high on the athletic, physical trait side, that they fit the bill of being highly fast twitch, highly athletic dudes. Now, outside of that, given the way Khan operates, man, there's no way you can predict it. And Corey Hatcher said it best. He said, I have a hard time, and what's up, Coach C? I have a hard time using past behavior as an indicator for things based on perceived team needs and the actions of the front office. If you're in the media, popular Pittsburgh media, ESPN, myself, anyone that's doing shows, and you think you can figure out what the con artist is going to do, King Khan ain't got shit on me. There is no way you can predict it. This front office is not your father's Pittsburgh Steelers front office. And I have to realize when I say that, I might be talking about myself, even though I think I'm talking about my pops. But millennials and you guys listen to the show might be thinking about me when I say that. But what I'm saying is, all that stuff about the Steelers and how they do business, that shit is gone. Kevin Colbert is out of here, and so is all of that. This is very much Tomlin's operation at the moment. And yes, it's been reported he's going to get the extension, I believe, in July. This is very much the Mike Tomlin con show. I mean, it is. There is nothing with the past regime, in my opinion, you can take as a measure for what they're going to do. Now, because I could say Steelers do a great job of developing wide receivers. That's why they're not going to draft a wide receiver in the first round. They'll take a wide receiver, in later rounds. I would have been very comfortable saying that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Very comfortable. I'd have been very comfortable saying they wouldn't draft a tackle in the first round. What did they do? Drafted a tackle in the first round. I would have been very comfortable saying they won't draft the same position in back-to-back seasons. A lot of you guys are out there thinking they're going to take another tackle from Georgia in the first round and have 2 Georgia tackles at the bookend. I don't think that's going to happen because I think they project Broderick Jones as a left tackle. But if it happened, wouldn't be surprised. Who the hell knows what this group is going to do? This is not, again, your daddy's Pittsburgh Steelers. These guys are operating in a very different fashion. Talking about a position group being drafted in consecutive years in the first round, that hasn't happened since Troy Edwards and Plaxico Burress. Could it happen this year? I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Nothing outside of drafting a place kicker or a punter in the first or second round would surprise me in this draft coming up. They have a vision of how they see the Steelers and how they want to operate moving forward. And I think that's just very hard to predict. You go on X and you go on Twitter, you go to these other platforms, people are trying to count the visits, how many the position groups that came in and trying to use that as a way, as a predict. Stop trying to predict this group. This group is this group. They do it how they do it. Be surprised by it on draft night because you're not going to get it right when you're trying to predict it. And it doesn't matter. I mean, the story really is who they draft and then how they develop. Last but not least, there's a topic I've been, kind of pushing around in my brain as we go into this draft season. And the more I understand about football, again, you're checking out the program, The New Standard. Nah, Russ, this ain't it, dog. This ain't it. The more I understand about the process, please like and subscribe to the program. Hit that like and hit the button. And let me actually, I got a couple of comments. Big up to Randy Wagner. And Randy is right. If Russell plays that pretty stuff, forget about it. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. So he is absolutely right. And big up to Felicia. And Felicia, I think, echoes a lot of what Steeler Nation is saying. I need a cornbread, beans, and rice fed center with that FAFO attitude. Hey, I mean, that wouldn't be bad in the interior of your offensive line. I think I would like that too. And that's why people don't care about that pretty stuff. It doesn't matter. But as I was thinking about this draft, and I was thinking about players, I was thinking about the terms that people kick around. Low floor, high ceiling, low ceiling. And not to feel like I'm mansplaining or anything. High floor, high ceiling, it is what it is, right? High floor means you start at a high level. High ceiling means you essentially you have the opportunity to ascend to very high heights. You have a very high potential. Low floor means you start off, you could be very bad. You could start at a very low level, because I think what you would want to stay away from is, low floor, high ceiling. There's a lot of variability, in that range. So, I was trying to think to myself as I think about these things, what's ideal? What would a team really try to covet? Not that a team might necessarily go through these mental machinations that I am, but I'm just thinking, like, as I think to myself, I would always want a player with a high floor and a fairly high ceiling. But I would I would target guys that were high floor guys that I know they could be productive very soon. That at a base level, even if they didn't have a high ceiling, if their floor was high enough, I could get great production out of those guys. I think an example, Kirk Cousins, high floor quarterback, not a high ceiling, not a very high ceiling. Now, and when I say high ceiling, I think a lot of times in the NFL, that is defined by physical traits. and physical characteristics. This player has a high ceiling because he has the physical traits to excel at a certain position. I think you always want to take high ceiling players, but I think you have to be careful about high ceiling players with lower floors the higher you are in the draft. I think when you're talking about high ceiling, very much developmental prospects, I would be looking at guys like that later in the draft. Uh, High floor or low floor, high ceiling. That's what I would be looking at. I would be looking at, and no, Corey, this is actually live. And I did give you a shout out, Corey, earlier about your point about this free agent group, or not the free agent group, the front office, and how you could not predict really what this front office is going to do. But that's just something that I'm pondering in my mind about high floor, high ceiling, because I think you could have a very good draft. That's one thing I want to talk about too before we get out of here. I think you could have a very good draft if you hit on high floor guys. Now, you may not get somebody special that's like Josh Allen that didn't have, I think, the highest of floors, but had a ceiling to space, right? And so now we're seeing just what he is as he's reaching that ceiling. He's absolutely ridiculous, right? So I just, but that was a high risk. That was a risk I wouldn't be comfortable with the Steelers taking in the first round, particularly with a quarterback. But at the same time, I think the Steelers, we saw they erred with Kenny Pickett. And Kenny Pickett, I think, was a high floor guy, low ceiling, because he lacked some physical traits that would make he lacked those physical tools like a Josh Allen. We see where that got the Steelers. So, I think it's just a delicate dance when it comes to those terms. And like Corey said, um, if they fill their needs with solid prospects, I'll be happy. Ultimately, I think so too. Ultimately, I think so that I'd be happy. And Ariel 75 asked me if Michael Penix Jr. is available at 51. Would you take him? No. I think they have the low floor, high ceiling quarterback prospect already in the building in Justin Fields. I wouldn't take Penix, but I think Penix throws a beautiful ball, but I wouldn't take Penix. I think they have that prospect already in Justin Fields. Now, I think the reason why it probably didn't work out well for Justin Fields in Chicago as hell is Chicago, and I don't think he had a very high floor. I think he was very much a developmental prospect, and he had like 3 or 4 damn offensive coordinators. So, I don't think it worked out. But the one thing I can guarantee with this front office, everybody that they get in the draft will be a high RAS player, an absolute high RAS player. To Ariel's point about Fields being a free agent next year, if Fields balls out, they are going to franchise him, period, and sign him to a long-term deal. And he'll be a Steeler for the foreseeable future. They'll give him the bag for sure. Because Tomlin will have his high ceiling, super high physical traits dude that's absolutely freaky. But before we get out of here, man, again, I want to thank all you guys for hopping onto the show. Please like and subscribe to the button. Subscribe to the show. Hit the like and subscribe button. Big up to my man, Corey C. Corey Hatcher out there. And again, if you missed the beginning of the show, I was just simply saying Russ's photo shoot in essence is hilarious. And it is a strike in Pittsburgh. I am telling you. And you guys know it. If the Steelers start slow, Steeler fans gonna be bringing the photo shoot to the games and throwing the damn Essence magazine on the field. Like, it just, it's not gonna be good for us if it goes bad. You know how it's gonna go, Corey. You know how it's gonna go, Felicia. Why he modeling? He need to be in his playbook. He already got an R&B singer for a wife. He need to concentrate and focus more on football. Corey, you know how it is in Steeler Nation. We want them gritty and not pretty. But with that, we're going to conclude the program. And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. Before I get out of here, RIP to Mr. C, the finisher, DJ for Big Daddy Kane. RIP to you, brother. We out of here.